You know that feeling when life finally seems to be falling into place, when you've got a rhythm going, everything feels balanced, and you think, yeah, maybe I'm actually doing this adult thing right. That was me. My little backyard garden was my masterpiece. My tomatoes were fat and shiny, my cucumbers were climbing like they had dreams, and the air smelled like basil and sunshine. I used to sit out there every morning with a cup of coffee, listening to the birds, feeling like I had unlocked some ancient secret to peace. It wasn't just dirt and plants to me, it was therapy. I talked to my plants, I named my tomatoes, don't judge, and I was weirdly proud of how green my thumb had gotten. Then one morning every person I stepped outside, still half asleep, expecting to see my garden glowing like usual, but instead it looked like something straight out of a horror movie. My lettuce was shredded to ribbons. My sunflowers were drooping, petals scattered everywhere like confetti after a bad party. My strawberry plants, gone, completely wiped out, just stems. At first I thought maybe the wind had done it, or maybe some birds went a little wild overnight. But then I looked closer, and my stomach dropped. Tiny holes, bite marks, movement. The leaves were moving. That's when I saw them, crawling, wriggling, flying, bugs everywhere. Green ones, black ones, some with wings, some that jumped. It was like an all-you-can-eat buffet for insects, and my garden was the main course. I froze for a second, not even sure what to do. I just stared at the chaos. Then, in full panic mode, I ran back inside, grabbed my phone, and started Googling like my life depended on it. How to kill garden bugs fast. Why are bugs eating my plants overnight? Do bugs hate coffee grounds? Every article said something different. One person said to use neem oil, another said to spray vinegar, someone else said to release ladybugs. But where was I supposed to get ladybugs on short notice? So, I went DIY crazy. I mixed up a spray with soap and water, sprinkled cinnamon, even tried a garlic solution because the internet said it worked. I went full scientist mode out there, spraying everything like I was conducting an experiment for NASA. But by the next morning, things were worse. The bugs didn't care. They just kept eating. It was heartbreaking. Every leaf that fell felt like a personal failure. I remember sitting on the edge of my garden bed, just staring at the dirt, thinking, how did this happen so fast? I had spent months nurturing this space, hours under the sun, sweaty and happy, watching seeds turn into life, and in a single week, it was all gone. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just fighting bugs, I was fighting nature, and nature was winning, and honestly, it felt like I was losing a part of myself too. After the bug invasion, I told myself, okay, it's fine, I can fix this. That optimism lasted about 3 days. Every morning, I'd rush outside hoping things looked a little better, but it was always worse. My garden, which used to feel like a happy living space, now looked like a battlefield. The once green leaves were now dull and dry, the soil felt lifeless, and I couldn't even recognize half the plants anymore. At first, I kept trying to save what was left. I picked off bugs one by one, like some kind of desperate plant nurse doing triage. I'd stay up late reading articles and watching YouTube tutorials on natural pest control, convinced I just needed the right trick to turn things around. But every fix I tried seemed to backfire. The bugs were relentless. It was like they had a group chat planning their next attack. Then came the frustration. I started blaming myself. Maybe I watered too much. Maybe I didn't rotate the crops. Maybe I should have planted marigolds earlier. Every failure felt personal. I'd walk outside and feel a weird mix of anger and guilt. It wasn't just plants dying, it was all the time, energy, and hope I had poured into them. There was one night I remember clearly. I sat on my back porch, staring at the little sticks that used to be my tomato plants. It was quiet except for the sound of crickets, probably mocking me, honestly. I felt this heavy wave of defeat. I thought maybe I'm just not cut out for this. You see, my garden wasn't just a hobby. It was my therapy after long days. It was where I went to breathe, to think, to feel calm again. Losing it felt like losing that peace. Suddenly my weekends were empty, my routine thrown off. I even avoided going outside for a while. It hurt too much to see the mess. That's when the burnout hit. I stopped caring about the yard altogether. I'd look at it through the window and just feel numb. Friends would ask, "How's your garden?" and I'd laugh it off, pretending I was fine, but deep down, it felt like failure was staring me in the face. I even started coming up with ridiculous ideas. I told myself, maybe I'll just concrete the whole thing. I'll make a patio, put some fake plants out there. Bugs can't eat plastic, right? I was half joking, but part of me actually meant it. But here's the thing. Something inside me refused to give up. Every time I walked past that destroyed patch of dirt, a tiny voice whispered, "You work too hard to quit now." That voice got louder over time. Eventually I decided to stop reacting and start learning. If the bugs beat me once, fine, but next time, I'd be ready. That's when everything began to shift, not just in my garden, but in me. After that whole breakdown, I realized I couldn't just keep guessing and reacting. I needed to actually understand what was happening. So, I grabbed a notebook, sat down at my destroyed garden, and made a plan. No panic, no random internet hacks, just real strategy. The first step was learning. I dove into gardening forums, watched hours of YouTube videos, read articles, and even talked to a local gardener at a farmer's market. And what I learned blew my mind. Not all bugs are bad. In fact, some are like tiny superheroes for your plants. Ladybugs eat aphids, lacewings protect your leaves, spiders, total legends in pest control. I had been at war with the wrong army the whole time, so I started over. I cleared out the dead plants, turned over the soil, and gave everything a fresh start. It wasn't just cleanup. It felt symbolic, like I was shedding the failure and making space for something new. I remember standing there, holding a shovel, sweaty and sore, but weirdly excited. It was like, okay, this time, we do it right. I changed everything, from the way I planted to the way I thought about the garden. I learned about companion planting, which is basically setting your plants up with their best friends. Tomatoes and basil, dream team. Marigolds near peppers, instant natural defense. It wasn't just about growing food anymore. It was about creating balance. Then came the fun part. Dr. Gisauder, Sol der, wanneer wenspower, or to stauber dauer brangsauer, Oshkin sound signs, the stauber dauer and garadon. The bulber booger doer, I planted flowers like lavender, calendula, and alyssum, which I learned act like magnets for pollinators and beneficial insects. I even built little bug hotels out of bamboo and wood for ladybugs and bees to hang out in. It felt like I was building a community, not just a garden. Instead of buying harsh chemicals, I made natural sprays using neem oil and essential oils. I started composting, using kitchen scraps to feed the soil, which felt like turning my everyday waste into life. I stopped thinking of bugs as the enemy, and started treating my garden like an ecosystem, not a battlefield. And slowly, things started to change. Tiny green sprouts pushed through the soil. New leaves appeared, untouched by holes. Bees buzzed around, and for the first time in weeks, it felt alive again. I'd walk outside in the morning and actually smile instead of sigh. One morning, I spotted something incredible. A bright red ladybug sitting on a leaf, surrounded by aphids, and she was eating them. I just stood there, laughing like a maniac. It was like watching nature's own revenge story. The more I worked with nature, the more it gave back. My garden wasn't just growing, it was thriving, stronger, wilder, balanced, and honestly, so was I. Because somewhere between the research, the soil, and the slow comeback, I realized this wasn't just about saving plants, it was about rebuilding myself. Looking back now, it's almost funny. I really thought losing my garden was the end of the world. But the truth is, that destruction was exactly what I needed. If those bugs hadn't torn through everything, I would have never slowed down long enough to actually understand how things worked. Nature had been trying to teach me a lesson. And once I stopped fighting it, I finally heard it. The biggest thing I learned? You can't control nature. You can only work with it. Gardening isn't about domination, it's about partnership. Plants grow best when you stop micromanaging and start collaborating. Once I made peace with that, everything changed, not just my garden, but my mindset. Now, when I see a few bugs crawling on a leaf, I don't panic. I take a closer look. I ask questions. Is this one harmful, or is this little guy helping me out? It's like learning a new language, the language of balance. Every plant, every insect, every gust of wind plays a part. It's a rhythm, and when you learn to move with it, things just click. The funny part is, this whole experience didn't just make me a better gardener, it made me a better person. I learned patience, humility, and the art of starting over. I used to think progress meant always winning, always getting it right. But now, I know it's about learning from every loss and growing through it. There's something powerful about watching new life sprout from the same soil that once looked hopeless. It's proof that failure isn't final, it's just the first step towards something better. My garden didn't just come back, it came back stronger. The colors were brighter, the plants were sturdier, and the air smelled like second chances. Now, my mornings feel different. I step outside, barefoot in the grass, cup of coffee in hand, and the first thing I notice isn't perfection, it's balance. A bee buzzing on a flower, a ladybug patrolling a leaf, a little hole here or there, sure. But that's fine. It's proof that my garden is alive, thriving, and connected. Sometimes I still think about those early days, how frustrated I was, how close I came to giving up. But honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because if I had, I would have missed out on this version of myself. Someone who doesn't just grow plants, but also grows from them. So, if you've ever lost something you loved, whether it's your garden, your project, or your sense of control, let this be your reminder. It's okay to start over. Failure isn't a wall, it's a door. And sometimes, you have to lose everything to learn how to build it better. Because my garden didn't just grow back, I did too. And the bugs, oh, they still come around. But this time, they're not the villains in my story, they're part of it.